Welcome to the pink side. My roommate's prank left me in a dress. Now I can't stop. I had always considered myself a fairly normal guy, average height, messy brown hair, and a love for late-night gaming. My life was simple. Wake up, go to work at the local marketing agency, spend evenings either streaming or catching up on sleep, and occasionally hang out with MIA, my girlfriend of 2 years. MIA was incredible, smart, witty, and impossible to resist. She loved me for who I was, or so I thought. The thing is, my life had a secret, one that I had buried deep inside. I wasn't just a normal guy. I had a fascination, a curiosity that I never fully admitted to anyone, even myself. I loved the idea of dressing as a woman. Not in a perverse way, not for attention, not for shameful thrills. It was a quiet, private passion. I had a drawer full of skirts, blouses, and delicate shoes hidden in my closet, carefully tucked beneath the layers of everyday clothes. Some weekends, I would sneak into my room, change into my hidden collection, and stare at my reflection. There was a thrill in it, an intoxicating blend of fear and excitement. But it was private, safe, controlled. That balance ended the night my roommate, Alex, decided to pull a prank. Alex had always been a practical joker, annoying, clever, and absolutely fearless. He liked pushing boundaries, testing limits. And I had been his unwitting target. It was a Friday evening, and I had left the apartment to run errands. Alex was supposed to be out, studying for some exam, but of course, he wasn't. He had a plan. A mischievous smile played across his face when I came home. "Hey man," he said casually. "Guess what I found?" Before I could respond, he tossed a small, neatly wrapped box onto the couch. The weight felt suspiciously familiar. "What is this?" I asked, wariness creeping in. "Open it," he said, with a grin that made my stomach knot. Inside was a delicate dress. Pink, soft, and slightly shimmery. I froze. My mind screamed, "That's one of mine." But Alex's eyes sparkled with mischief. "You're going to love this," he said. "Try it on. For the prank." I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But before I could object, he had disappeared into his room, probably filming my reaction for later humiliation. I hesitated. My secret. My private world. All of it threatened. And then, a flicker of curiosity. Could I pull it off? I stepped into my bedroom, heart pounding. The dress felt soft under my fingertips, familiar in a way that was almost shocking. Before I could think too hard, my hand brushed against my hidden makeup kit. My secret life had always been a safe, solitary indulgence. But now, Alex had forced me to confront it in the light of day. I looked at myself in the mirror. My reflection stared back, a mix of fear and temptation in my eyes. I hesitated, then slowly began the transformation. Foundation first, brushing over my face, smoothing out imperfections. Mascara, blush, a light sweep of lipstick. Each movement brought a strange thrill, a rush of adrenaline. My body felt different, my mind sharper, more alive. By the time I slipped the dress over my shoulders and fastened it at the back, I barely recognized myself. My hair fell in soft waves around my face, my silhouette softened. I looked beautiful and terrifyingly vulnerable. Footsteps in the hallway made me freeze. Alex was probably coming to see my reaction. My heart thudded in my chest. But when he peeked into my room, his eyes widened and he froze. Wow," he said, stammering. "You actually look amazing." I swallowed hard. "It's just a dress." My voice sounded smaller, higher than usual. "No," he said, grinning again. "It's not just a dress. You pull it off. Really well. Too well." The realization hit me like a shockwave. Alex hadn't just pulled a prank. He had exposed something I couldn't ignore anymore. Standing there, looking at my reflection, I felt a surge of emotion, fear, exhilaration, excitement, and something else I couldn't name. That night, as I walked carefully around the apartment in heels that were slightly too tight, I realized my life had changed. Alex had forced me into a dress, yes. But more than that, he had pulled me into a world I had only dared to explore behind closed doors. And I couldn't stop. Even as I tried to rationalize it, telling myself it was a joke, a prank, temporary, I felt the truth pressing down on me. Every step in those heels, every glance in the mirror, made me feel more alive than I had in years. Something had awakened inside me, a part of me that was no longer willing to hide. I glanced at my phone. MIA had sent a message earlier, asking if I wanted to grab dinner. Normally, I would have replied immediately. Tonight, I hesitated. Could I tell her? Could I even explain? Or would this become another secret, one I would have to hide even more carefully? The thrill, the fear, and the strange new desire twisted inside me like a storm. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but I knew one thing for certain. My life had changed, and there was no going back. The next morning, I woke up with a strange mixture of excitement and dread. The dress from last night was carefully folded on my chair, like a silent reminder that nothing would ever be the same. My heels sat beside it, neat and shiny, almost mocking me with their impossibility. I traced my fingers over the soft fabric, feeling that same surge of adrenaline that had coursed through me yesterday. I couldn't stop thinking about the way Alex had looked at me. Awed, shocked, and more than a little impressed. For the first time, I realized that the part of me I had hidden for years wasn't just a secret indulgence. It was a part of who I was, and maybe deep down it was a part one wanted to explore. And yet, fear lingered.
Mia.
How could I possibly explain this to her? Would she understand? Or would she laugh? Or worse, be disgusted? The thought made my stomach twist. She knew me as Ryan, the normal, slightly awkward guy who loved video games and didn't take too many risks. How could I suddenly show her this side of myself? By mid-morning, I was pacing around the apartment, still in last night's dress. The silk skirt brushed my legs softly, and the light shimmer of the fabric made me feel exposed. Every creak of the floorboards sounded like a warning. Every car horn outside the window felt like a spotlight on my secret. Alex peeked out from his room, grinning again. Feeling yourself yet? I spun around, blushing. I don't know. I can't stop thinking about it, and that scares me. That's exactly why it's fun, he said, leaning against the doorframe. You're scared, you're excited, and you're gorgeous.
Admit it.
You liked it. I swallowed hard, not trusting my voice. I may be, but it's not normal. I'm not supposed to feel this way. Alex's eyes twinkled. Normal's overrated. You feel alive, don't you? I couldn't deny it. Every brush of the fabric against my skin, every tilt of my head as I studied myself in the mirror, it was intoxicating. But the fear lingered. What if someone else saw me? What if MIA found out? What if I lost control of this side of myself completely? Later that afternoon, I tried to distract myself with work. Marketing reports and emails blurred together, but my mind kept drifting back to the dress, to the way my legs looked in heels, to the soft sway of my hair over my shoulders. I found myself doodling skirt designs in my notebook, imagining different outfits, different colors. It was obsession, and I hated it. Then came the first real test. I had to go out to pick up groceries. Normally, a quick walk in jeans and sneakers would have been no problem. But today, with the dress and heels, every step was a performance. My legs wobbled slightly, my posture felt unnatural, and I kept checking the reflections in store windows to make sure I looked normal. I caught the attention of a few people, and my heart jumped with panic. They didn't know me, they didn't know my secret, but the possibility that someone could recognize me, judge me, or see me as something I wasn't ready to be terrified me. And yet, the thrill of it, the way the dress flowed, the way my reflection looked almost right, kept me moving forward. Back at the apartment, I collapsed onto my bed, sweaty, heart racing. Alex laughed from his room.
See?
You can do it. You look amazing out there. I glared at him, but even I couldn't deny the rush that still lingered. Something had awakened in me, something I couldn't suppress. The dress, the heels, the makeup, it wasn't just a prank anymore. It was a mirror to a side of myself I had been hiding for years. And then, the fear returned.
Mia.
She was due to come over later that evening. Would she see me like this? Would she understand? Would she judge me? I paced the apartment, my reflection everywhere, my mind spinning. The dress felt heavier with every passing minute, a weight not of fabric, but of expectation, secrecy, and the unknown. Finally, I heard her keys in the door. My heart lurched. "Ryan?" she called, stepping inside. I froze, hiding behind the doorframe. The dress, the heels, the makeup, all of it made me feel exposed, vulnerable. And yet there was no going back. MIA stepped in, her eyes scanning me. And then a small smile. "You look different," she said, curious, not judgmental. The relief that flooded me was immediate. It's nothing. Just a joke," I stammered. She tilted her head, eyes sparkling with amusement. "A joke? You've been hiding this from me? Why didn't you ever tell me?" I didn't think you'd understand," I admitted. Her laugh was soft, warm, forgiving. "Well, you know what? I like it. You look amazing. Weird, sure, but amazing." And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. I didn't just like the dress, the heels, the way I felt. I needed it. I wanted more. Alex had pulled a prank. MIA had laughed. And I had discovered a part of myself I couldn't ignore. The weekend arrived, and with it, a strange mix of anticipation and dread. My life had shifted overnight, and every corner of the apartment now seemed to whisper reminders of what had begun. The dress lay folded neatly on my chair, almost taunting me, while my heels gleamed under the living room lamp. Alex had left a small note. "Next challenge if you dare." I couldn't stop thinking about it. The thrill of being seen, the intoxicating blend of fear and excitement, it had consumed me. But with every passing hour, the reality pressed harder. This wasn't a harmless prank anymore. It was becoming a part of me, and I didn't know if I could or wanted to fight it. Monday morning, I tried to maintain some semblance of normalcy. Work was the usual grind, meetings, emails, and spreadsheets. But my mind wandered, drifting to thoughts of skirts, heels, and makeup. I found myself doodling designs on my notepad, imagining outfits I had never dared wear. My fingers trembled slightly as I traced lines, each stroke feeding the obsession that had begun with a simple prank. During lunch, I received a text from Alex. "Got a new surprise for you tonight. Don't chicken out." My stomach twisted. Curiosity battled with fear. I didn't know what he had planned, but my heart knew it would push me further, force me into a world I had only tiptoed around. That evening, Alex called me into the living room. He was holding a small box, larger than the one from last week. My pulse quickened as I approached. "You're going to love this," he said, his grin wide and mischievous. Inside was a complete outfit, a delicate pastel dress, matching heels, a wig, and a small makeup kit. My hands shook as I lifted the pieces out, each one more luxurious than anything I had dared imagine. I don't know if I should." I started, panic rising. Alex's eyes sparkled. "Ryan, trust me. You want this. You've felt it, haven't you? The thrill, the excitement, you can't deny it." I swallowed hard. He was right. Every fiber of me screamed yes. I retreated to my room, locking the door behind me. Slowly, deliberately, I began the transformation. The wig brushed softly against my neck. The dress hugged my frame in ways that made my heart race, and the makeup highlighted features I had never dared to accentuate. The mirror reflected someone I didn't fully recognize, a softer, more vulnerable version of myself, yet somehow more alive than I had ever felt. Stepping into the heels was the final act of surrender. My legs wobbled, my balance shaky, but I reveled in the sensation. Every step, every movement, heightened my awareness. I was exposed, vulnerable, and utterly captivated by this version of me. The first test came when I peeked through the window. Across the street, neighbors were walking their dogs, couples strolling arm in arm. Normally, I would have felt out of place. Tonight, something inside me thrummed with daring. I stepped outside, my heels clicking against the pavement, my dress swaying with each careful step. I caught glimpses of myself in reflective surfaces, the grocery store window, the car's shiny hood, even a puddle near the curb. Each reflection confirmed it. I was no longer hiding. I was visible, and I liked it. But fear never fully left. Every passerby could see me. Every glance could expose me. And yet, that fear blended with excitement, creating a tension I couldn't resist. Returning home, I found Alex waiting, his camera in hand. "You look incredible," he said, voice low, almost reverent. "Now, let's see how far you can take this." My stomach churned. "How far?" He handed me a small note. "MIA might drop by tonight. Let's see what happens." My blood ran cold. MIA, my girlfriend, the one person who grounded me, could arrive at any moment. I felt a surge of panic and exhilaration at the same time. Every step I took that evening was calculated. I practiced my voice, my posture, the tilt of my head in the mirror. I rehearsed what I might say, how I might act if MIA walked in unexpectedly. My reflection stared back at me, a dual image. One part the boy she knew, one part the girl I was becoming. And then the moment came. The door clicked, and there she was, MIA. Her eyes widened slightly, but she didn't scream or recoil. Instead, a small, curious smile played on her lips. "Ryan?" she asked softly. I froze. The dress, the heels, the wig, it all made me feel exposed, raw, vulnerable. It's complicated," I whispered. MIA stepped closer, her gaze unwavering. "You look different, but good, really good." Relief and panic collided. I wanted to run, to hide, but the truth was undeniable. I liked this. Every fiber of me thrilled at her words, at her acceptance. And yet, fear lingered. What if she'd changed her mind? What if she didn't understand completely? That night, I lay in bed, the dress folded neatly beside me, my heels still glinting under the lamp. My mind was a whirlwind of excitement, fear, and longing. Alex's prank had ignited something I could no longer control. I had crossed a line from which there was no turning back. And deep down, I knew I wouldn't want to. By midweek, my life had shifted into a delicate balancing act between my two identities. During the day, I was Ryan, the ordinary guy at the office, answering emails, attending meetings, pretending nothing had changed. But at night, in the privacy of my apartment, I became something else entirely. A girl who moved differently, spoke differently, and looked at the world through a lens I had never dared explore. Alex's pranks were no longer harmless. Each one pushed me further, challenged me, and made me question just how far I could, or would, go. But it wasn't only Alex I had to think about. MIA's presence loomed over every moment like a shadow. Even though she had accepted my first transformation with curiosity rather than judgment, the uncertainty remained. Would she support me if I continued? Would she accept this as part of me? Or would it drive a wedge between us? That Thursday evening, Alex approached with another challenge. "I got tickets for a costume party tonight," he said, waving a pair of invitations. "But here's the catch. You have to go dressed fully, no exceptions." My stomach dropped. Parties meant people. Strangers. Public exposure. Every ounce of caution in me screamed to say no, to retreat into the safety of my normal self. But another voice, quieter but insistent, whispered, "You want this." I spent the next hour preparing. The dress he handed me was soft lavender, hugging my figure just right. The shoes were higher than any I had attempted before, the wig cascading in perfect waves. Makeup, applied meticulously, transformed my face. For the first time, I felt like I wasn't hiding. I felt seen, even if no one else had noticed yet. Standing before the mirror, I took a deep breath. I looked stunning and terrifying. The party was at a friend of Alex's apartment, a high-rise downtown. I approached the building, heels clicking against the pavement, my reflection catching in every glass panel. My nerves threatened to overtake me, but excitement fought back. Each step felt like a test. Could I survive this night without revealing too much, without losing myself completely? Inside, the room buzzed with people, laughter, music, and conversation. Alex grinned and nudged me forward. "Go on," Show them who you are. I hesitated at the entrance, scanning the crowd. Eyes seemed to settle on me, curious glances following my every move. My heartbeat quickened. Every laugh, every sideways glance felt like a spotlight on my secret. And yet, I walked in. The first interactions were nerve-wracking. People approached, complimenting my outfit, my hair, my makeup. I responded cautiously, my voice softer than usual, movements precise. The thrill of being noticed, of being admired, was intoxicating. I had never felt this alive in my entire life. Alex, of course, was gleeful, whispering, "See? Told you. You're unstoppable." But then came the first test of true danger. A guy approached, tall, confident, with a grin that made my stomach flip. "You look incredible," he said, leaning in. "Are you single?" Panic gripped me. My mind raced. I could lie. I could divert the conversation. But my heart wanted something else, to be seen, to be accepted, even if just for a moment.
Mia.
The thought of her, potentially finding out at this moment, sent a jolt of fear through me. And yet the thrill, the desire, the excitement, it was overpowering. Hours passed. I mingled, laughed, danced. Each moment strengthened a side of me I had never dared embrace. The dress, the heels, the wig, they weren't just clothes anymore. They were a mask, a shield, a way to explore the person I had kept hidden. And yet, the danger was constant. Every step in the heels was a gamble. Every word spoken in a softer, higher voice risked exposure. Every glance in a mirror or a reflective surface reminded me how vulnerable I had become. The climax of the night came unexpectedly. A sudden blackout plunged the party into darkness. People screamed, laughter turned to gasps, and the soft hum of conversation became tense whispers. In the chaos, I stumbled, my heel catching on the rug. I almost fell, but someone grabbed my arm, steadying me. I looked up. It was MIA. She had come to the party, unannounced. Our eyes met, and in that moment, the world seemed to stop. Fear, excitement, and longing collided inside me. You're really doing this?" she whispered, half in disbelief, half in awe. I nodded, unable to speak. Her smile was soft, understanding. "You looked amazing." That night, as I walked home, adrenaline still coursing, I realized the truth. I couldn't stop. Alex's prank had unlocked a door, and I had stepped through. The thrill, the fear, the desire to be seen as this other person, it was addictive. And the more I tried to resist, the more I wanted it. I had crossed a line. There was no going back. The days following the party were a whirlwind of emotions. I couldn't stop thinking about that night. The thrill of walking into a room full of strangers, the feeling of admiration, the excitement mingled with fear. Every reflection in a window or mirror became a temptation, a reminder of the version of myself I was beginning to crave. Alex, of course, was relentless. He had caught on quickly that I couldn't resist the thrill. His texts and notes were constant. "Another challenge tonight. Don't back down. I know you want it." Each one was like a spark, igniting the fire I could no longer contain. MIA, meanwhile, had become both a sanctuary and a source of tension. She accepted me in the dress, admired the transformation, yet I sensed her curiosity lingering beneath the surface. She had questions, silent and spoken, and the uncertainty gnawed at me. Would she fully embrace this side of me, or was she just humoring me? One evening, she suggested we watch a movie together. I hesitated, wondering if I should slip into something casual, hide the heels and dress. But a part of me, the part that had awakened in Alex's pranks, wanted to reveal myself completely, to show her who I truly was. I decided to wear the lavender dress again. The heels clicked softly against the hardwood floor, the wig cascaded perfectly around my shoulders, and my makeup glimmered under the warm light of the living room. MIA's eyes widened as she took in the sight. "You're really committing to this, huh?" she asked, a teasing smile on her lips. I shrugged, a blush creeping across my cheeks. I don't know why. I feel alive. She reached out, brushing a strand of wig from my face. "You do look alive."
And happy.
That's all that matters. Her acceptance was intoxicating, but it also fueled a deeper obsession within me. The thrill of being admired, the danger of exposure, the raw exhilaration of transforming. It was addictive. I couldn't go back to the way things were. That night, Alex called. "Got a new plan. You're going to love it. Or hate it. Depends on how brave you feel." I knew better than to ask what it was. His plans were unpredictable, and the unknown was part of the excitement.
But the fear was stronger this time.
What if this challenge went too far? What if MIA saw something she couldn't accept? When Alex arrived, he handed me a small envelope. Inside was a ticket to an upscale cocktail event, a gathering of professionals, socialites, and influencers. The dress code was elegant, glamorous, and impossible to ignore. I froze. A public event. Strangers, cameras, attention. Panic surged through me. And yet, the lure of transformation, the thrill of being seen, was irresistible. I spent the next few hours preparing meticulously. The dress, a deep emerald green, clung perfectly to my frame. The heels were higher than any I had attempted before, making every step a careful calculation. Makeup highlighted every feature, accentuating the softer, more vulnerable version of myself. I looked flawless and utterly exposed. Arriving at the event, I felt a rush of adrenaline. The grand chandelier cast sparkling light across the room, reflecting off glasses and mirrors. Every step in the heels was a test, every glance a potential exposure. People noticed. Compliments flowed. Cameras flashed. I was both terrified and exhilarated. Alex stayed close, whispering encouragements, his grin wide.
"See? This is your world now."
Own it. And I did. Tentatively at first, then with growing confidence. I laughed, mingled, and moved with a grace I hadn't known I possessed. But the stakes were higher than ever. One misstep, one stumble, one too curious glance, and my secret could be out. Then came the moment that changed everything. A photographer, noticing my striking appearance, asked for a quick photo. I agreed, heart hammering. As the flash went off, I caught a glimpse of MIA across the room. Her eyes locked on me, a mixture of surprise, admiration, and something else I couldn't read. The thrill and fear collided inside me. I was alive, desired, seen, and utterly vulnerable. My reflection in the polished floor caught my eye. Heels, dress, wig, makeup, all perfectly composed, yet me, stripped bare emotionally. Walking home that night, my legs ached from the heels, my mind raced. Alex had pushed me further than I thought possible, and I realized with a mix of excitement and terror that I couldn't stop. Each step, each transformation, each thrill had pulled me deeper into this dual life. MIA met me at the door. She didn't ask questions. She didn't judge. She simply smiled, taking my hand. "You're incredible," she whispered. And in that moment, I understood something terrifying and exhilarating. I had crossed a line from which there was no return. My secret, my passion, my obsession, it wasn't just a phase. It had become a part of me. The days following the cocktail event were a blur. Every mirror, every reflective surface seemed to beckon me, reminding me of the version of myself I had embraced. I couldn't resist. The dress, the heels, the wig, they weren't just items of clothing anymore. They were extensions of who I was becoming. Alex's pranks had evolved into subtle challenges. A note here, a text there, each one daring me to push further, to test boundaries I hadn't even realized existed. He knew me too well, knew exactly how far to push without breaking me completely. MIA noticed the change, too. Her acceptance had been unwavering, but her curiosity had grown. I could sense her questions behind her eyes, the unspoken wonder of who I was when I was dressed this way. Every glance carried unspoken judgment, excitement, or concern. I wasn't sure which, and that uncertainty gnawed at me. One evening, as she curled up on the couch reading a book, I practiced in the mirror again. The emerald dress from the cocktail party hung neatly in my closet, waiting for the next event. I slipped into a soft pastel outfit, carefully matching the heels and makeup, and studied my reflection. I didn't recognize myself. Or maybe I did, in a way that scared me. The person in the mirror was confident, alluring, and utterly exposed all at once. Every sway of the hips, every tilt of the head, every flutter of the eyelashes was both thrilling and terrifying. Then came the real challenge. Alex had arranged a small gathering, a mix of his friends, some of mine, and strangers, all in the apartment. The rule was simple. No hiding, no excuses. I had to navigate the evening fully dressed, fully transformed, with everyone watching. My stomach twisted. Fear surged. What if someone recognized me? What if MIA saw something she couldn't accept? What if I embarrassed myself completely? But deep down, a part of me, stronger, louder, more insistent, thrilled at the prospect. This was no longer just a prank. This was my reality. The night arrived. Guests trickled in, laughter and conversation filling the apartment. I moved cautiously, heels clicking against the hardwood, dress swaying delicately with each step. Compliments flowed, teasing remarks came, and through it all, I felt alive in a way I never had before. MIA arrived late, as promised. Her eyes scanned the room, landing on me. A soft gasp escaped her lips. "You really did it," she whispered, half in awe, half in disbelief. I nodded, cheeks flushing. I couldn't resist. I needed to. Her gaze softened, and she took my hand. "You look beautiful, but this is a lot." Her words hit me harder than I expected. Beautiful, but a lot. Was I pushing too far? Was I losing control? Or was this exactly who I was meant to be? As the evening progressed, Alex's friends teased, complimented, and challenged me. Each interaction was a delicate dance. One wrong word, one misstep in the heels, and the illusion could shatter. Yet, with every compliment, every playful glance, I felt more alive, more seen, and more addicted to this dual life. Then came the moment of near disaster. A guest, someone I knew from work, moved closer than I expected. Recognition flashed in their eyes. My heart stopped. I forced a smile, laughed nervously, and prayed they wouldn't say anything. MIA noticed my tension. Her hand gripped mine lightly, grounding me. "It's okay," she whispered. "I've got you." Her support was a lifeline, but it also highlighted the danger. If anyone else recognized me, if anyone else judged me, the consequences could be devastating. And yet, the thrill, the desire to be seen, the need to embrace this side of myself, was irresistible. By the end of the night, I was exhausted, exhilarated, and terrified all at once. The dress, the heels, the wig, they had become a part of me, a mirror reflecting a version of myself I couldn't ignore. Alex's prank had unlocked something I could never put back in the box. As the last guests left and the apartment fell silent, I stood in front of the mirror, studying my reflection. The girl staring back at me was confident, alluring, and alive, but she was also vulnerable. Every step I had taken, every challenge I had faced, had brought me closer to a point of no return. And deep down, I knew the climax was coming. Something would test me further, something that would force me to confront my fears, desires, and the consequences of this life I had chosen. The morning after the final build-up, I woke with a strange mix of exhilaration and dread. The previous night had pushed me to my limits, yet I craved more. The reflection in the mirror, my altered self, smiled back, daring me to continue down this path. I knew, however, that this week of transformation had only been a prelude. Something bigger was coming, and I had no idea how to prepare. Alex, of course, sensed my rising anticipation. His messages began early. "Ready for today's challenge? It's bigger than anything before. You'll thank me or hate me." My heart raced. Each new prank, each challenge, had pushed me further, but this one felt different. Dangerous.
Public.
Unforgiving. By noon, Alex had arrived with a grin that made my stomach twist. "You're going to love this, or panic like never before," he said, handing me a sleek envelope. Inside was a ticket to an upscale charity gala, an event teeming with influential figures, cameras, and journalists. Panic immediately set in. This wasn't a small gathering anymore. This wasn't a casual party at a friend's apartment. This was public exposure, on a scale I had never faced. My secret, my transformation, could be seen by dozens, maybe hundreds. The stakes were terrifying. And yet, the thrill of testing myself, of walking into the unknown, was intoxicating. I spent the afternoon preparing meticulously. The dress Alex provided was stunning, a deep sapphire gown with a fitted bodice and flowing skirt. The heels were taller than anything I had worn before, and the wig, a cascading wave of dark brown, framed my face perfectly. Makeup enhanced my features, highlighting the softer, more vulnerable version of myself. Standing before the mirror, I felt a surge of both fear and excitement. Every reflection reminded me of the line I had crossed between who I had been and who I was becoming. And deep down, I knew there was no turning back. Arriving at the gala, I was immediately struck by the grandeur. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, soft music played in the background, and impeccably dressed guests mingled under the sparkling lights. The crowd's attention was palpable, each glance and whisper magnifying my anxiety. Alex nudged me forward, his camera ready. Go on. Own it. I took a deep breath and stepped into the crowd. Every step in the heels was deliberate, calculated. Every smile, every greeting was carefully measured. People noticed me. Some whispered, some smiled, some lingered, but I remained poised, walking the delicate line between confidence and vulnerability. The first real test came when a photographer approached. "May I take your photo?" he asked, adjusting his camera. I nodded, heart racing. The flash went off, and I felt my nerves spike. Someone could recognize me. Someone could know my secret. And then I saw her, MIA, standing across the room, her eyes wide with surprise. Fear and thrill collided in a confusing mixture. MIA's gaze was steady, curious, and, most terrifyingly, unwavering.
She saw me.
She saw all of me. As the evening progressed, I navigated the high-stakes social environment, each interaction a test. Influential guests complimented my outfit, my poise, and my confidence. I smiled, laughed, and mingled, all while the tension gnawed at my chest. Alex stayed close, whispering encouragements and subtle prompts, pushing me further. "Try the balcony," he suggested. "Get noticed. This is your moment." The balcony overlooked the city skyline. I stepped outside, the night air cool against my skin, the lights shimmering below. People on the terrace noticed me, some waving, others whispering. The thrill of public admiration sent shivers down my spine. And then disaster struck. A familiar voice called my name, loud, unmistakable. I froze. Turning slowly, I saw one of my coworkers, someone I had hoped wouldn't attend. Recognition flashed in their eyes, and panic set in. "Ryan? Is that you?" they asked, stepping closer. My mind raced. I could lie. I could retreat. But the desire to be seen, the thrill, the need to embrace this side of myself, overpowered fear. I smiled, hesitated, and whispered, "Yes, it's me." The gasp that escaped their lips sent my heart hammering. Murmurs began to ripple through the crowd. I was exposed, fully, undeniably. Every eye was on me. MIA's voice broke through my panic. "It's okay," she whispered, slipping her hand into mine. Her calm presence steadied me, and I realized something profound. She had accepted this part of me. No judgment, no ridicule, just support. The tension remained, but with her by my side, I felt emboldened. I had faced my greatest fear and survived, and the thrill was unlike anything I had experienced before. By the end of the night, I was exhilarated, exhausted, and forever changed. The dress, the heels, the wig, they had become more than clothing. They were extensions of my identity. Alex had pushed me to a point where I had confronted my deepest fears, and I had emerged not only unscathed but empowered. But even as the gala ended, I knew the climax wasn't over. Something else was coming, An obstacle, a twist, a moment that would challenge everything I had embraced. The thrill, the fear, and the desire were far from finished. The gala's glittering lights and soft music couldn't mask the surge of adrenaline coursing through me. Every compliment, every glance, every whispered comment made me more aware of how exposed I truly was. I had thought I could handle this world, but the reality was far more intense than I had imagined. Alex, ever the instigator, leaned close and whispered, "Things are about to get interesting. Just wait." My stomach twisted. I had learned to expect the unexpected with him, but this time, fear mingled with thrill in a way I couldn't ignore. The twist came suddenly. A well-dressed man approached MIA and me, a clipboard in hand. "Excuse me," he said politely. "We're documenting guests for feature and tonight's gala coverage. May I take a closer look at your outfits and gather some details for our article?" I froze. A feature meant photos, interviews, and public recognition. The risk of exposure was immense. I could hear Alex's teasing voice in my mind. Own it or collapse under pressure. MIA squeezed my hand. "You're fine," she whispered, her eyes steady. Her calmness gave me courage, but my heart raced. The man began asking questions, photographing our outfits. Every click of the camera shutter made my pulse spike. My transformation was on display for everyone, and the realization that someone could recognize me, someone could reveal my secret, made my palms sweat. Alex grinned, leaning close.
See?
Thriving under pressure. You look unstoppable. I wanted to argue, to deny, but the truth was undeniable. I was thriving. Every compliment, every gaze, every whispered word had pushed me into this world of exhilaration and danger. Then came the obstacle I hadn't anticipated. Across the room, a familiar voice carried through the crowd. My co-worker from earlier, someone I hadn't prepared for, had alerted a small group. Murmurs began, questions were whispered, and I felt the spotlight shift. All eyes seemed to settle on me. Panic gripped me, but I forced myself to stand tall. Every step, every gesture, every smile was calculated. I had trained myself for these moments, and I wouldn't falter. MIA's grip on my hand tightened. "I've got you," she whispered. Her presence was my anchor. The emotional tension intensified when the crowd began to circle, curiosity and admiration blending with suspicion. People were drawn to me, intrigued by the transformation. Some smiled, some whispered, and others stared in disbelief. I felt the vulnerability of my secret exposed, yet the thrill of being admired was irresistible. Alex, sensing my tension, leaned close again. "Now's the moment. Show them who you really are." I hesitated, my heart pounding. Was I ready to fully embrace this version of myself in front of everyone? Could I maintain the balance between excitement and disaster? The pivotal moment came when the photographer motioned me toward the balcony again. "We want a feature shot, a signature pose for the gala's coverage," he said. Heels clicking against the polished floor, I moved toward the balcony. MIA followed, her presence grounding me. The city lights shimmered below, a sea of possibilities and dangers. I struck the pose, confident, alluring, radiant, but inside, every nerve was on edge. A sudden gasp from behind startled me. Turning quickly, I saw my coworker approaching with a smartphone, recording. My heart skipped. Exposure wasn't just possible, it was happening. MIA stepped in, placing herself between me and the potential disaster. "Stop," she said firmly, looking at the coworker with quiet authority. "You're not going to ruin this moment." The tension in the room was palpable. Guests whispered, cameras flashed, and I felt the delicate balance of my dual life teetering. Every move I made, every gesture, was scrutinized. And yet, I felt alive, empowered, and undeniably present. By the end of the night, I had survived the exposure, navigated the obstacles, and faced the twist with courage I hadn't known I possessed. The dress, the heels, the wig, they were no longer just clothing. They were extensions of me, mirrors reflecting both vulnerability and strength. Alex clapped me on the shoulder, a triumphant grin on his face.
See?
Nothing can stop you. I smiled, exhausted, exhilarated, and aware that the climax was far from over. Something else awaited. Another twist, another challenge, another moment that would push me to my limits. The gala's lights dimmed slightly as the evening progressed, but my heart remained on high alert. Every glance, every whisper, and every camera click reminded me that my secret life was now teetering on the edge of exposure. The thrill I had chased for days had become a double-edged sword, exhilarating and terrifying in equal measure. Alex, sensing the tension, nudged me. Time for the final act. You ready? I swallowed hard. Each challenge had pushed me further than I thought possible, and yet the unknown loomed ahead. The excitement and fear were a heady mix, a cocktail I couldn't resist. The moment came suddenly. One of the gala organizers approached with a microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced, "we have a special feature tonight. A guest we'd like to highlight for their style and charisma." All eyes turned to me. My pulse raced. The crowd's attention, once manageable, now felt suffocating. I could hear whispers ripple across the room, some admiring, some curious, and some suspicious. Alex leaned in, whispering, "You've got this. Own it." I stepped forward, heels clicking sharply on the marble floor. Every step felt like a test of balance, poise, and courage. My dress shimmered under the chandelier lights, my makeup flawless, and my wig perfectly in place. But inside, my nerves were raw, electric, ready to ignite at any misstep. Then it happened. A familiar face appeared in the crowd, my coworker, still suspicious, edging closer with a phone in hand. Recognition flashed across their features. My heart skipped a beat. Exposure wasn't just possible anymore, it was imminent. MIA squeezed my hand, grounding me. Her presence was my anchor, and I drew strength from it. "You can do this," she whispered. I forced a confident smile and nodded. I couldn't let panic take over. Not now. Not when I had come this far. The microphone was handed to me. "Would you like to say a few words?" the organizer asked. I hesitated. My mind raced, one wrong word, one slip, and everything could unravel. But the thrill, the adrenaline, and the need to embrace this side of myself overpowered the fear. I just want to say thank you. I began, my voice steady despite the storm inside. This evening has been incredible, and I've learned something about myself, something I never expected. That embracing who you truly are, even when it's scary, is worth it. The crowd reacted with applause. I felt a surge of exhilaration. I had faced the ultimate test and stood tall. But the night wasn't over. From the back of the room, a flash of a camera caught my eye, a journalist snapping candid photos. My coworker whispered something to them, and suddenly a group of people were approaching. My heart raced. Would they reveal my secret? Would the thrill turn into humiliation? Alex's hand was on my shoulder, firm and reassuring. "Stay calm. You're in control." MIA stepped forward, her presence unwavering. "Leave him alone," she said firmly, her eyes locking on my coworker. The tension between them was electric, a silent standoff in the middle of the gala. I took a deep breath and moved toward the center of the room. Every eye followed me. Every step, every sway of my dress, every click of my heels was magnified under the lights. I was exposed, vulnerable, yet more alive than I had ever been. Then, in a moment of chaos, my heel caught the edge of the carpet. Time seemed to slow. I teetered, arms flailing slightly. Gasps rippled through the crowd. MIA reacted instantly, grabbing my arm and steadying me. Alex clapped loudly, cheering me on. "See? You've got this." My pulse pounded in my ears. I had faced the ultimate danger: exposure, humiliation, and physical vulnerability, all at once. Yet I stood tall, composed, and alive. By the end of the night, the crowd's attention shifted back to normal conversations. Compliments flowed, photos were taken, and I realized something profound. I had survived. I had faced public exposure, scrutiny, and fear, and emerged stronger. The dress, the heels, and the wig were no longer mere tools of transformation. They were extensions of my identity, mirrors reflecting courage, vulnerability, and desire. Alex had pushed me further than I thought possible, and I had risen to the challenge. Walking home with MIA, the city lights glimmering around us, I felt a strange mix of exhaustion, exhilaration, and anticipation. I had crossed a line, a point of no return. The thrill, the obsession, and the dual life I had embraced were now inseparable from who I was. MIA squeezed my hand. "You were incredible tonight," she whispered. I smiled, heart racing. I couldn't have done it without you. Her presence, her acceptance, and her unwavering support reminded me that I wasn't alone. And yet, a part of me knew the challenges weren't over. Alex's pranks, the thrill of transformation, and the seductive danger of exposure would always be waiting, teasing me into the next adventure. The gala had ended, but the tension lingered like a shadow trailing me through the city streets. My heels clicked against the sidewalk, each step a reminder that the night's drama wasn't over. Alex walked beside me, his mischievous grin intact, while MIA held my other hand, her presence steady and grounding. Even in the glow of the city lights, I felt the lingering adrenaline. Public exposure had been thrilling, but it had also revealed vulnerabilities I couldn't ignore. I was caught between exhilaration and fear, between desire and the reality of potential consequences. Back at our apartment, the silence was almost deafening. I removed the dress carefully, folding it neatly on the bed. The wig was placed on its stand, makeup wiped from my face, and yet, despite returning to my normal attire, the night's events still hummed through my veins. MIA watched me quietly. "Ryan, you were incredible tonight," she said softly. "But this could have gone wrong. Are you sure you're okay?" I nodded, though my mind raced. I think I am. But it was intense. More intense than I expected. Her eyes searched mine. "I can see that part of you, the side that loves this. The side that needs this. But it's risky."
Do you understand that?
I swallowed hard. The truth was I did. Every compliment, every stare, every whispered remark had reinforced the thrill, but it had also shown me just how exposed I was. This wasn't just about crossdressing anymore. It was about balancing desire, identity, and safety. The next challenge arrived unexpectedly. Alex had invited a few friends over, claiming it was a debrief of the gala. But as soon as they arrived, I realized it was more than that. They had brought cameras, outfits, and challenges designed to test me further. "You survived the gala," Alex said, grinning. "Now, let's see if you can handle being fully exposed in a more intimate setting." My heart raced. Every prank, every challenge had led to this point, the ultimate test of my confidence, composure, and identity. As I prepared, slipping back into a sleek outfit designed by Alex, I felt a mix of excitement and fear. MIA watched quietly, offering support without judgment. Her presence reminded me that even in the most vulnerable moments, I wasn't alone. The challenges began subtly, posing for photos, interacting with the guests while maintaining my composure, and navigating teasing comments that skirted the line between playful and humiliating. Each moment tested my nerves, but also reinforced my growing confidence. Then came the confrontation. One of the guests, a friend of my coworker from the gala, approached with a knowing smile. "I know your secret," they said lightly, their tone teasing but not malicious. "You're different than you appear." My chest tightened. The secret I had worked so hard to maintain was now dangling in the open. Every eye seemed to follow the interaction, every whisper a potential revelation. MIA stepped closer, placing a protective hand on my shoulder. "He's fine," she said quietly. "Just don't let this rattle you." I forced a smile, my mind racing. How much should I reveal? How much should I hide? The line between thrill and disaster blurred, and for a moment, I felt the weight of exposure pressing down. But something surprising happened. Instead of ridicule, the guest laughed softly, a sound that diffused the tension. "You're brave," they said. "I could never do what you do." Relief flooded me, mixed with a growing sense of pride. I had faced fear, exposure, and scrutiny, and I had survived. More than that, I had embraced a part of myself that was daring, vulnerable, and undeniably alive. By the end of the night, the tension had eased, but the lessons remained. I had learned that thrill and fear often coexist, that exposure can be terrifying, and that acceptance, from oneself and from those who matter, can be empowering. MIA squeezed my hand, her eyes soft. "You're incredible," she whispered. "But remember, balance. Thrill is wonderful, but don't lose yourself." I nodded, understanding her words. The journey was far from over, but I had faced the climax, the ultimate tests of exposure, fear, and identity, and emerged stronger, more confident, and more aware of the risks and rewards of this world I had embraced. The night had stretched on, but the tension refused to dissipate. Each moment felt amplified, as if the air itself were charged with anticipation. I could feel it in my chest, the lingering pulse of adrenaline, the delicate balance between exhilaration and danger. Every step, every glance, every whisper reminded me that the world I had stepped into was as intoxicating as it was perilous. Alex, predictably, had one last challenge in store. "This is it," he said with a gleam in his eye. "The moment where everything comes together. The fear, the thrill, the exposure. Let's see how far you can push yourself." My heart thumped loudly. I had navigated public scrutiny, coworker recognition, and private pranks, but this felt different. This wasn't just a challenge. It was a culmination, the apex of every moment that had led me here. The final test was simple, yet terrifying. A live-streamed mini-event in the apartment, complete with an audience of Alex's friends. Cameras were set up around the room. Lights glowed warmly, and the attention was mine. Every movement would be recorded, every expression scrutinized. My transformation, the dress, the heels, the wig, the confidence I had cultivated, was on display for the first time in a fully documented, unavoidable way. I swallowed hard, feeling a surge of both excitement and fear. This was the moment where the thrill of transformation collided with the real risk of exposure. MIA stood beside me, her hand clasped over mine. "You're ready," she whispered. "Remember, you control this. Own it." I nodded, drawing strength from her presence. She had been my anchor throughout this whirlwind, grounding me when the adrenaline threatened to sweep me away. With her there, I felt a surge of courage, the kind that only comes from knowing someone truly sees and accepts you. The cameras started rolling. Alex directed the mini-event with his usual chaotic flair, encouraging me to pose, to interact, to embrace every aspect of my transformed self. Every movement was deliberate. The sway of the dress, the click of the heels, the tilt of my head, the confident smile that masked the storm of nerves inside me. Guests and viewers laughed, whispered, and admired, their reactions both thrilling and terrifying. Each compliment, each subtle gasp of surprise, pushed me further. I felt powerful, beautiful, and alive, but also dangerously vulnerable. Then came the twist, the unexpected obstacle that nearly shattered the moment. One of Alex's friends, a mischievous and unpredictable presence, decided to escalate the challenge. "Let's see if Ryan can handle a real test," he said, approaching with a prop that could topple my delicate balance, a rolling chair, precariously placed near the edge of a set. My pulse raced. One misstep, one stumble, and not only could I be physically hurt, but my secret, my image, my newfound confidence could all be jeopardized. I froze for a moment, weighing fear against thrill. Every instinct screamed to retreat, but every lesson, every moment of courage over the past days, urged me forward. I took a deep breath and stepped carefully around the obstacle, my heels clicking with precision, my hands poised to maintain balance. The cameras captured every second, the live-stream audience holding its collective breath. MIA's voice cut through the tension. "You've got this. Just focus on yourself." Her words anchored me. Slowly, deliberately, I navigated the precarious path. The dress flowed perfectly, the wig stayed in place, and my confidence radiated despite the danger. Each step was a triumph, a moment of mastery over fear, doubt, and exposure. By the end of the challenge, the audience erupted in applause. Relief, exhilaration, and a strange sense of euphoria washed over me. I had faced the ultimate test: public scrutiny, physical risk, and emotional vulnerability, all at once, and I had emerged stronger, more confident, and undeniably transformed. Alex grinned wildly.
See?
Nothing can stop you. You're unstoppable. I smiled, exhausted but triumphant. Every challenge, every prank, every moment of fear had culminated in this realization. I was more than the sum of my fears. The thrill, the crossdressing, the exposure, they were not just indulgences. They were expressions of courage, identity, and self-discovery. But even as the applause faded and the night wound down, I knew the story wasn't finished. A lingering sense of suspense remained, a subtle hint that my journey and my challenges were far from over. The thrill of transformation, the danger of exposure, and the intoxicating blend of fear and desire would continue to beckon. MIA squeezed my hand, her eyes soft but knowing. "You did amazing tonight," she said. "But remember, this is only the beginning." Her words, gentle yet charged with meaning, left me both exhilarated and anxious. The climax had been conquered, but the story, the drama, the suspense, the emotional roller coaster was far from over. The apartment was quiet now, the chaos of Alex's pranks and the adrenaline of the gala fading into echoes. I sat on the edge of the bed, the dress and heels from the night still neatly arranged on the chair. My heartbeat had slowed slightly, but the lingering thrill refused to leave me. Every glance at the mirror reminded me of the duality I had embraced, the vulnerability of exposure and the exhilaration of transformation. MIA sat beside me, her hand resting over mine. "You did more than survive tonight," she said softly. "You thrived." I smiled, though the truth was more complicated. Thrived, yes, but at what cost? The thrill had been intoxicating, the applause addictive, but the risk of exposure, the danger of being caught, still hovered over me like a shadow. I knew the adventure wasn't over. A sudden ping from my phone made me jump. A message from an unknown number flashed across the screen. "We saw you tonight. Very impressive. But are you ready for what comes next?" I froze, staring at the words. My pulse spiked. Who could it be? A viewer from the live stream? Someone from the gala? The message was vague, but it carried an unmistakable edge of challenge and danger. MIA leaned closer. "What is it?" I hesitated, weighing whether to show her. The thrill of secrecy battled with the comfort of transparency. Finally, I typed back cautiously. "Who is this?" No reply came, just the ominous hum of anticipation lingering in the room. My thoughts spiraled. Had someone recognized me beyond Alex's circle? Was this the beginning of another challenge, or a threat? The mixture of fear and excitement churned inside me. Every successful step tonight had proven my ability to navigate exposure, but now, the unknown loomed larger than ever. Alex, seemingly omniscient in mischief, chuckled from the corner. "Looks like your fame, or infamy, is growing. Are you ready for round 2? I glared at him, a mix of exasperation and thrill. "You've done enough for one night," I said, though my voice lacked conviction. Deep down, I knew the draw of the next challenge, the next exposure, was irresistible. The next morning, the city's skyline greeted me through the window, sunlight casting long shadows across the room. I was dressed in casual clothes now, my transformed self hidden under normalcy, but the echoes of the night before lingered. Every glance at my reflection reminded me that the dress, the heels, the wig, they weren't just costumes. They were extensions of my identity, mirrors reflecting courage, vulnerability, and desire. MIA made breakfast silently, yet her eyes betrayed a question she didn't ask aloud. "Will he do it again?" I smiled faintly, unsure whether to admit it, even to myself. The thrill of transformation, the intoxicating mix of fear and exhilaration, had become a part of me I couldn't ignore. And the message on my phone, still unanswered, promised that the adventure was far from over. Then, a knock at the door shattered the fragile calm. My heart raced instantly. Who could it be at this hour? Alex's voice echoed playfully from behind me. Don't tell me you've already forgotten your next challenge. I moved cautiously toward the door. Every step felt weighted with anticipation. MIA followed, her hand brushing against mine, grounding me even as adrenaline surged. I opened the door. A sleek envelope lay on the welcome mat. No one in sight. The envelope was unmarked, ominously blank except for the faint shimmer of gold lettering that caught the morning light. With trembling fingers, I picked it up and tore it open. Inside was a single card, inscribed with 3 words that made my stomach drop. Meet me tonight. No signature. No explanation. Just the promise of another test, another exposure, another chance to push the boundaries of fear and exhilaration. MIA's eyes widened. Ryan, what is it? I held up the card, my fingers still shaking. I don't know, but something tells me this isn't over. Alex, leaning against the doorframe with a grin, whispered, Are you going to take it or hide forever? The choice stretched before me like a razor-sharp cliff edge. Thrill and danger intertwined, calling to the part of me that had discovered strength in vulnerability, courage in exposure, and exhilaration in transformation. Could I resist it? Could I retreat into safety? Or would I step into the unknown, embracing whatever awaited me tonight? The camera, invisible yet imagined, seemed to focus on me, the protagonist caught between fear and desire, secrecy and revelation. My pulse pounded in my ears. The city outside shimmered with possibilities, the unknown stretching infinitely before me. And somewhere deep inside, I knew the answer, even if my mind fought against it. I glanced at MIA, whose unwavering gaze seemed to ask, Are you ready? I took a deep breath. My fingers brushed the card. My reflection in the mirror stared back, a mixture of vulnerability, strength, and anticipation. And then the screen went black.